All right, guys, I'm back. Hopefully, I get all these videos out. It's going to be tough to do. But let's get into the Death Team of Rebellion. Oh, we clicked on the wrong tab. Now we're on the right one. So, first, let's look at the summoners. We already went over Death Fire and Death Water. So, I guess it's a little bit easier not to go on this. But I'll also do a little bit of a comment as I look at their cards in case we add more. Tactic Summoner. They have 2 Reflection Shield or 2 units -2 health. Once again, the Death Team gets shafted. Why aren't they allowed to have good summoners? I asked Matt this question. He admitted that their summoners are bad, but apparently they're not doing anything about it. We'll see when the legendary one comes out. Given Astral Entity is going to have his day in the sun with Kitty going away, speed meta becoming more meta, and a team with dodge of everyone dodging should get a lot better. Also, Waka, I think, will be a little bit more playable in the near future just because those strong Untamed summoners are not going to be in the game anymore. But, this is interesting. I guess in a Blast rule set, Jotun's going away, so that's not going to be as prevalent, at least until we see the new legendary summoners. But there is a Blast rule set where this could be useful. The -2 health to 2 units on a team that has a lot of redemption monsters and ways to clear out armor is an interesting usability thing. You definitely could make it to where when they kill one of your monsters, they're going to kill off 2 or 3 of their monsters. So I'm going to say that this could be more useful than I'm thinking, especially because it can be used once you see who they have and whose HP you want to lower. So I do think that ability could be much more useful. Reflection Shield, I guess. The one thing I will say, again, more situational. You could have an ability where you're going into a Thorns match, a Magic Reflect match, or a Return Fire match, and there is obviously the white summoner with the Return Fire ability. So, with those things out there, if you're in one of those game modes or you see Illithid coming, maybe you can play Reflection Shield, play that type of monster they're not necessarily ready for, and have that ability for them to bounce around without killing themselves. Also, let's take a look at the monsters. Maybe this is more usable with the new monsters that they have got. I don't know if Dallin will ever get his day in the sun. Everyone having cripple, just not as good as you would think. Everyone having poison, you'll still go a turn without poisoning anyone. Oh well, but it is what it is. These are what you have if you like the Death Team. Let's get into the new units. We're going to hide Chaos Legion for a moment. Now, them, unlike some of the other teams, they got 2 monsters with no attack while getting no monsters with weapons training. I don't know. Maybe somebody gets weapons training and they don't have it yet based on my level up. So let's hold that until we take a look at some of these. Like, we'll start off with this guy because I only have him at level 1. So as this big behemoth levels up, he gets Magic Reflect, a Weaken, and a Fury. So this is an interesting play with that new summoner. You weaken the team, then you give people 2 less HP. There is a Wild Death team where you try to reduce everybody to 1 and just wipe their team out with an Affliction. It doesn't really do that well sometimes, but it is an interesting team. And then he gets Fury right away. So this is definitely an shield bearer, even though he's going to be gone. But just anti-taunt monster that is just going to be laying waste to people. It is interesting, though. He's always 5 attack. The reason why I say that is kind of interesting is you could have that ability of this getting affected by force field. So like Slip Spawn, even though she's going to be taunting the attack, though that team does have a lot of silence, so maybe he would get down from 5. But if not, that would be kind of a bummer. Reflection shield could be helpful here, so you could have a reflection shield added to him, and then he wouldn't have to worry about that magic damage coming back at him, because his HP is a little bit low. He is a little squishy to magic attack. He does bounce it back at people, but giving him that reflection shield to make sure he doesn't kill himself if he goes up against somebody is very interesting. Let's see. We'll look at the other legendary. They do have a card with Lookout and Flying, another mage. That HP is extremely low, so that's interesting. This is why. It's one of their life leeching mages that start off with kind of low health. He does get a strong 3 attack, stealing 2 HP at max level. A little bit slow, but does have an armor. So with the Lookout ability and an armor, his low HP, I mean, you got to look out for opportunity here. An interesting card, doesn't blow me away. So the legendaries, they're good. They don't blow me away. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to these zero cost monsters. So here, theirs does not get an offensive third move. So maybe that is why they don't have the same amount of weapons trainers for their team. It does come with Void and an Amplify, and there's that Redemption to combo with the Summoner and the big tank that do the weakens to people's monsters. So they do get a new Redemption monster for the front row. Right here, their other no attack monster, he does get an offensive move. So he gets a Dispel. He's a 2 cost, 6 speed. He has a blind, and he shoots back arrows, gets an armor. Not bad. Now, the only weapons training card is from the Chaos Legion set. It's 3 magic attack. So you could see him being put on the board next to that mage somewhere in the back, maybe the last position, adding a blind, adding a Dispel, and having a 3 magic attack. That's not a bad card in that case. Let's see here. One of the things I'm going to check really quick, even though I'm sneaking ahead, is there a neutral with weapons training? Yes, there's another weapons training mage. So this card could be used with these cards in the death lineup to make things a little bit sexier when it comes to them having these 2 cards. No, I haven't really been looking at the neutrals with the other cards. Sorry if maybe I should have been doing that, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and move on. All right, so 5 cost here. We have a archer with True Strike, so that's nice. They already have a True Strike archer, so this gives them another one to combo. His damage is a little bit low in the low levels, and it never gets any higher. He gets an affliction later on, but not till 6, so that's after silver. Overall, gonna say not overly impressed with the Drudge. I mean, not missing is important. Their True Strike is out there, but only 2 attack without anything other than an affliction is interesting. They have other cards with affliction, so I don't know if I love that one. All right, here's our replacement for some of the sneak monsters that have been lost. This one's kind of interesting because he's almost like a combination between the 2 cost and the 3 cost sneak and opportunity monsters from Untamed. But he's a 3 cost sneak monster with a Void. That's interesting. And a Scavenge. I like that. He gets a lot of HP, speed. He doesn't hit very hard. Actually, it's kind of funny. I could see leaving him at level 9 and taking the 3 attack over a Scavenge because he already has 5 HP and a Void. The Scavenge is interesting if you decide to get it for him. I don't know. That's going to be something I'm going to have to decide and see if I want to do. But 3 HP means it does 2 to a shield. And you have a lot more monsters that you might be able to pop with a 3 hit compared to a 5 hit. Especially when you can weaken that target in the back row. So that's an interesting card. And we go right here. Let's go ahead and look at this archer. This is a better archer. So 6 cost, 3 damage, 3 health, 4. And it's a sneak archer. So this plays with the other card, having that sneak lineup, have an archer. Sneak archers are interesting. They tend to have low HP. This one's a little bit on the slow side. It picks up a silence later on, so that's kind of nice. Any card with a silence allows you to play some interesting plays as far as your tanking abilities go. I know Kursh Wendeku does not like magic attackers, and so a silence to go with him is always nice. It doesn't pick up any other abilities, but as it levels up, it does get faster, first to 4 speed. That's nicer. Then it picks up an extra HP. Then it picks up an extra speed, and then it picks up one more extra HP to make it much more survivable. They can't really attack from the front row very often in Death, so that's interesting. But I guess in a sniper situation or sneak situation, it should last a couple hits. Still, though, I like the 2 cards at least playing together on the sneak one. Here we go with an armor striking reach monster. So this is a very interesting one. With blast not being as prevalent, I can see this working out a little bit better. So in the low levels, it's going to be a 1 with a 1 blast with one. It's going to be 1 and 1. You don't love that if you run into a shield monster, especially considering there's a tactic somewhere in there that can give a shield because he won't be doing any damage. But later on, when he becomes a 2 and 1, that's a little bit better. And the armor strike isn't really necessarily a 1 if you can buff that armor. Death team isn't as good at buffing armor as some of the other teams, though. And then he picks up an affliction too, so that's interesting. So multiple afflictions within their monsters, and then he does end up picking up another armor to be a 2 and 2. Then he picks up a rust. I like the rust. I like the 2 and 2. It's interesting to have the 2 attacks of 2. Definitely an interesting little card. Not thinking it's amazing just because, let's compare really quick, pulling the Chaos Legion to his counterpart here. Sados the Lich also has affliction reach, but only hits for 3. And has a dodge. So I guess at max level, he'll do a little bit better. Now we got the Demon. This is the card that I got to reveal. Me and Baby Omega were really not quite sure about this 4/10 10 cost taunting monster. I honestly feel like you'd want to put him in as a secondary taunt. Because you can't really defend him as much. We did see that at least there is a silence in the board, and the Death team does have other ways to lower people's ability to attack, but he is a taunting monster with corrosive ward, so that is definitely an interesting combination. He's a magic hitter with a cripple, so Dahlin not needed. Overall, 3 damage with a cripple isn't bad. Taunting with a corrosive ward is impressive to me, and he flies. So for those earthquake matches, you get another big flying mage. The downside is giant killer will really hurt him bad, and I don't see a real way that you can prevent that other than lowering those giant killer attacks. Right here, we've got the Chaos Jailer, so here's your opportunity ambush monster. Now you can see even at max level you can only get that up to 2, but definitely interesting. He does get a poison though, so you could pre-poison a monster with this. That is definitely something that's pretty interesting. Obviously, if you can bring in an Inspire into the team, which they do have, you can push this up to 3, which is very interesting. In the lower levels, this card is going to not be as impactful because it only has the 1 attack. Well, actually, it has a poison even at low level. So I do think that you're going to be okay here. In the upper levels, he adds in a slow. That's desperately needed by the Death team, who tends to not be insanely fast. So I like that card. I think that's a good add-in to the team. Let's see. As we get into the epics here, Executioner Khan. So you have a Void Armor. What is this guy supposed to be? A tank? For 6? Let's see. He gets a weaken. Okay, so now you have a way to play him, and if it's a really high amount of match, you can get lots of weakens. Okay, so I'm starting to see a bit of a theme here. Much more survivable later on. He looks kind of squishy here, but he gets a weaken. He gets more armor. He gets more attack. He gets more HP. by the time he's max level, that's a very interesting card to play. Really, here, this is comboing with the Summoner with 2 monsters get -2 HP. You throw her in the front with a Redemption. You throw let me go ahead and bring him into the board to show you. You throw this guy behind the Redemption so that it has a Resurrect. So you're gonna Redemption her twice. You get a weaken here. You get a weaken from him. So you're double weakening, plus having 2 more minuses that you can do and doing 2 redemptions. That's kind of the play that I'm seeing them being able to do. It's a very interesting play. They're going to need Rust, but you did see that they do have a Rust from this little guy. So you could have a lineup where you do him, with her in the front position as well, so that she dies first. It's kind of a weird lineup, but I could see it working. Definitely would be interesting to try out. Let's see, the other epic, we're getting the Scatter Shot, Double Shot. That's interesting. He doesn't pick up any other abilities except for his wings start to work later on. He picks up flying. And he never gets another attack until here. So at max level, he'll get 2 chances to do 2 damage to 2 random spots on the board. I do like Scattershot monsters, more of them being on there so that maybe you can field more of a Scattershot team. It does make sense for those matches where you do not want to be forced to attack that first position. All right. The Demise Archon Faust. Pretty cool name. Definitely cool artwork. We already went over him, huh? Mage. Yes, we went over these 2. Okay, so that's all of the new cards for Death. Let's go ahead and bring the Chaos Legion in. Let's try to talk about some of the new teams here. It is interesting here. You have some reach monsters that they're going to clash with. You do have the Silent Shavi for the sneak. Now can combo here with the Chaos Jailer. You can get the armor buff from the Ravenhood Warden with an Inspire. That's pretty impactful for like this card here, because now you can push him up to 4 armor and 3 attack, and so he's attacking for 3 and 4 from the second position. Still a little bit slow. I do like Cursed Wendigo still in the front, and now you can give him some different kind of backup in this monster, because you already kind of like the Ravenwood Warrior here. You got your 2 True Strike archers now that you can run. You also definitely have, you have your sneak, and sneak here with the Silent CV, so you can run triple sneak on the team pretty well. And then eventually, so I'm trying to see him here, do they have another weaken? They have a redemption here in the new set, so they can have a redemption here. They can have a redemption with her when she gets to max level, and then they have another weekend with Will of the Wisp. So there's a possibility here for like a redemption lineup where you do something like this card in the last position, this card in the first position. You do Will of the Wisp. You do the Executioner to be the tank after she dies. You're not really trying to do anything else but have her wait for him die because he has the other weekend. You can put this card on the board for a Resurrect if you need it, but that's kind of like with a lot of extra mana, so maybe he doesn't end up getting played, and instead you're playing this one for the other weekend, and after that you're playing something like, Rav has the Rust, but that's not really where you want to go. I think you want to go with which one of the new cards got Rust at max level? It wasn't you, right? No, you just fly and take pot shots in the back row. Not terrible on a weekend lineup, though. Those little attacks would be much more impactful. Was it you? No, you get a Dispel. You'd only want to play you next to a weapons trainer. I thought one of them got a Rust, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was one of the rares. Was it you? It is you. Yeah. And so then you play him on the board for a rust. They are losing in Untamed. They are losing. Let's go ahead and hide these. Oh. Oh, I'm on Modern. They are losing the Cursed Slime Ball, and they are also losing the Mage and... Oh, no, wait. Is he in the other set? Is he in Chaos Legion? And I'm just ignoring him? 2 cost epic. Oh, yeah, here he is. The Warrior. Okay, so that would be the play for the armor, for the minus the armor. Because you don't want to play a redemption lineup where you're weakening their health and your redemptions end up only hitting armor. So that's kind of an interesting lineup that they're going to have a chance at doing. Other than that, they're picking up some good mages. Definitely for a mage lineup, they're definitely interesting ones, and they're picking up, some sneak and some true strike cards that they can line up with the other ones. As you can see, this set, when you look at these cards, there are so many other ones. The other thing we want to double check, obviously, in the neutral with them is the other sneak cards that we're going to have from neutral. So we're still going to have Dr. Blight. We're still going to have Rooney for Rooney in the game. We are going to have this little weapons trainer that can add some magic damage to some of those cards. Does anybody else have sneak? Okay, we're going to have Uraeus. Obviously, that's an old school sneak card. Doesn't look like any of the other little ones have sneak, so that's interesting. All right. Since we already went over Death Water, the big add-on, just looking at them again, they get a cleanse from water. They can get a heal from water. They can also do a sneak lineup with something like Silent Chevi, with Deep Lurker, with Pellicor Bandit, with the Jailer, with this Archer that sneaks. So they could have a lot of back row melee and archery coming onto the board. And then the Deep Lurker and all of those, they can get that armor from the Ravenwood Warden, and they become a really complete kind of sneaky team. When it comes to their legendaries, they're definitely going a lot more mage centric here, which is definitely something kind of interesting. Overall, I think I don't know. I don't love these cards, but again, I said it's kind of hard to judge everything until you actually play with them. Again, their summoner does definitely have a way for you to run a very interesting redemption pop the other team. All right, guys. Hopefully that was enjoyable. Bye.